Big news coming out of Virgin Voyages, and no, it is not a shiny new ship. Instead, Virgin has just announced some of the biggest changes to how they are pricing cruises since the cruise line launched. I sat in on an official Virgin Voyages webinar with members of their board and their executive team, and we dug through all of the details so you don't have to. And we are going to cover them all right now. Let's go. I've been traveling nonstop since I was 16, so I figured, why not start a YouTube channel? Welcome to Jetlag John. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you follow Virgin Voyages news like I do, you've probably seen something being teased recently on social media around changes to their pricing structure. Well, as of today, the secret is out. Virgin is rolling out VoyageFair Choices. It's launching September 7th, 2025. And in this video, I'm going to tell you what's staying the same, what's changing, and give you everything that you need to know. Before we actually get into the fares themselves, let's talk about the why. Virgin says this move stems from years of research and listening to feedback from sailors and first mates. They recognize that not everyone wants the same level of flexibility, and that pricing transparency is more important than ever. So their goal is to bring the booking experience more in line with industries like hotels and airlines, where you get to pick your value flexibility trade-off. The name VoyageFair Choices hints exactly at that. Give people a choice, more transparency, and clearer pricing. And just to be clear, they're not changing their core promise. The onboard experience, the cruise working conditions, which I'll get into a little bit later and why that's important, and the always included benefits remain intact. This is a packaging and flexibility revamp. So here is how Virgin is rethinking their fares. Starting on October 7th, if you are in a Sea Terrace category cabin or below, you will get to choose from one of three fare tiers. Those will be basic, essentials, and premium. So let's walk through each one of these, what they have to offer, and where the trade-offs lie. The first tier I want to talk about is the Essentials tier. Now, this is the middle tier in their new pricing structure, but it is going to be the one that is most consistent with what you're used to when booking with Virgin Voyages. This is going to include flexibility items like changing your voyage date, changing your cabin category, or even canceling your cruise for that future voyage credit. It's also going to include your classic Wi-Fi, which is great for messaging and browsing and Wi-Fi calling, and your dinner reservation booking window is still going to stay at 45 days. It remains the most balanced of the options and the pricing that you are used to. The one big change that you will get in the Essentials tier that you currently have access to in the current pricing model is for Sailor 1 or your primary sailor on the reservation. You cannot change that person's name. You can change it for anybody else on that reservation, but that primary sailor has to stay the same. You can't transfer that to someone else. So that's a big update for the Essentials package. The next tier I wanted to talk about is the new base tier. Now, this is said to be 5 to 10% lower than what you would pay for the Essentials tier. Virgin is calling this the best deal tier, which it does offer a little less flexibility, but that is in exchange for a lower cost. So all of the cruise fares in the base tier are non-refundable. You can't change the date of your cruise. You can't change the names. Some of those other flexible perks that we saw with the Essentials package are not going to be available. You do still get basic Wi-Fi, which allows you to do your messaging, your social media, does offer some limited browsing, and you only get that on one device per sailor. The other big change to the basic tier over the Essentials tier is the dining booking window. In the base tier, it opens up 15 days before you're sailing, not 45 like you get with the Essentials and what you're used to with Virgin currently. You get the same access to Virgin's always included luxuries like dining, entertainment, fitness classes. Nothing about that changes. There's just less flexibility in your booking. Finally, the third tier that we're going to talk about is Virgin Voyages' new premium pricing tier. Now, this is the highest tier and it's going to offer you the most flexibility with the most perks. It's going to cost you $45 per sailor per day for your voyage. But what it gets you is the flexibility to be able to change any sailor's name, voyage date, or your cabin category at any time prior to your embarkation. It's also going to give you a priority support line, which is a dedicated phone number that you can call, and they will be able to help you out with any of your pre-voyage questions. You're also going to get premium Wi-Fi for 2 devices per sailor. Premium Wi-Fi, it supports streaming, video calls, and definitely faster browsing. So definitely a perk there. And one of the coolest things that they're adding to this, at least value for me, is a $15 per person per night drink credit. And that is included in this pricing tier as well. The other big change for those people booking into the premium tier is your dining booking window. If you were in a Sea Terrace category or below, currently you get access to those dining reservations 45 days in advance. If you book into a premium tier, those dining reservations are now going to open up 60 days before you cruise. So a huge perk if you are trying to book those dining reservations early and get into those restaurants that you really want to try. All right, so I know some of you might be asking, John, you have talked a ton about the Sea Terrace category cabins and lower and the 3 pricing tiers there. But what happens if I want to book into a RockStar or a Mega RockStar suite? Is there anything that's going to change with those programs? And currently, Virgin is going to stick with their existing model. However, they are making one benefit a little more sweet than what you would currently get. If you remember, in the premium tier for Sea Terrace category cabins or lower, you got access to dining reservations 60 days in advance. This used to just be reserved for RockStar and Mega RockStar sailors. So what Virgin is doing now is if you are booked into a suite, you will now have access to make those dining reservations 120 days in advance. So this will give you a little bit of extra lead time to lock in those tables at your favorite restaurant. No matter which fare class you pick, your onboard experience is going to be the same. The same experience that we all know and love about Virgin Voyages. In fact, the webinar that I went to, the executive team came out and even made the point that the crew will never even know which fare class you are booked into, just because they want to make sure that everyone is experiencing Virgin Voyages the same. You will still get access to all of the dining venues. You will get access to the entertainment, the group fitness, all of your basic beverages, which is your soda and your water. And that is a promise that Virgin Voyages has made, and that will never change. So we know Virgin Voyages is rolling out these 3 new pricing tiers if you are in a Sea Terrace category cabin or lower. But one other big announcement that they made today revolves around service gratuities. Now, before, Virgin Voyages rolled all of your gratuities into your base cruise fare. So you saw one final number for everything. Starting October 7th, service gratuities are going to appear as a separate line item in your fare breakdown. So when you book, you will now have 2 different options when it comes to gratuities. You can either prepay your gratuities, which is going to cost you $20 per sailor per night, which is similar to what you can do on a majority of the other cruise lines that are out there, or you can choose to pay those gratuities once you get on board, which is going to cost you $22 per sailor per night. So once that gratuity is taken care of, there is no further tipping required once you get on board. Not for drinks, not for the spa, not for dining, nothing. Once you've taken care of that, no other tipping is required unless you feel like somebody has gone above and beyond and you want to give them just a little bit extra. I know I do that all of the time because their crew is amazing. So Virgin is doing this just to be a little bit more transparent with their pricing. You are going to know exactly what your fare covers and how much is going to support the crew. And this is something that a lot of sailors have asked for. And I really appreciate that Virgin has been listening to their sailors and their first mates for this feedback. You might be wondering, what happens if I already have a cruise booked with Virgin Voyages? With these changes, is anything around those existing bookings going to change? And the answer there is no, except for one small thing. Virgin Voyages is going to open up those dining reservation windows. So if you have a booking with Virgin Voyages, listen up. For bookings made before October 7th in a Sea Terrace category cabin or lower, your dining reservation window now is extended from 45 days prior to sailing to 60 days before you set sail. If you are in a suite, they are moving from 60 days to 120. And those date changes will be reflected on virginvoyages.com and in the Virgin Voyages app on October 7th. So double check on October 7th those dates because they may have changed from what you were used to. So in short, Virgin is honoring their prior commitments with all of their existing bookings, but they're still giving you a little bit of a perk or a little bit of taste of their new pricing structure by offering those extended dining reservation windows. One other area, as I was getting all of this information that I had a lot of questions around, was their sailor loyalty program. So if you are in the Virgin Voyages Sailing Club and you have extras like Deep Blue Extras or Blue Extras, those perks are going to remain unchanged. Regardless of what fare tier you pick, those are going to stay the same. So just to give you a real world example, I was curious if I booked into a Essentials fare class. I have Deep Blue Extras, which gets me that premium Wi-Fi anyway. Is that going to change anything? And it does not. I would still get that premium Wi-Fi. I would still get that perk, even if I booked into the Essentials tier, which only offers that basic Wi-Fi. The other question that I had was I've seen a lot of updates that cruise lines are making to their loyalty programs, and it's all around the amount of money you pay the cruise line to go on these cruises. The more money you pay them, the more points you get, the higher level of loyalty and the perks that you are awarded. For Virgin Voyages, they are saying that every full fare voyage, whether you are in a base, an essentials, or a premium tier pricing package, will count towards the number of sailings you qualify. So they are still labeling it as a number of sailings. So a premium person is not going to get more credit for a cruise than somebody that is sailing into a base package, which I think is really, really important. So just to recap, Virgin Voyages just introduced their VoyageFair Choice program, which if you are booking into a Sea Terrace category cabin or lower, you are going to have 3 new pricing options available to you, depending on what you need for flexibility and cost. If you are a RockStar or a Mega RockStar, you are essentially going to have the same exact experience, except for they're opening up dining reservations 120 days in advance versus 60 days in advance. Also, they are changing the way that you do gratuities and adding a little bit more transparency to their pricing. You can either prepay for your gratuities or you can wait and pay those once you get on board, aligning them with a lot more of what is standard within the cruise industry. Now, at the end of the day, these are changes. I know people have a hard time accepting changes and they think that Virgin Voyages, like, why is Virgin doing this? They never needed to do this. But at the end of the day, if you loved Virgin Voyages, you will still love Virgin Voyages. Your experience on board is not going to change. It's just giving you more clarity and more choice when it comes to booking your cruise with Virgin. That is your full breakdown of Virgin's VoyageFair Choice program, straight from the source. What do you think? Will you go with a base fare, maybe an essentials, or splurge and go with that premium pricing tier? I want to know what suits your travel style. Drop it in the comment section below. Also, if there's some things that maybe I didn't touch on or that concern you or questions that you might have, drop those down in the comment section below. I would love to help clear the air on anything that I can. Like I said, this is still fairly new, so I'm still learning too, but drop those comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you want more Virgin Voyages updates, cruise tips, and behind the scenes insight to the cruise industry. Also, if you are ready to book, there is a link in the description section below. Let me know. I would love to help you book your next Virgin Voyages and maybe give you some special jet lag John perks. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.